MAME chase.
It's always news worth broadcasting when uncommon games turn up, especially when those games use fragile media formats, as that combination of factors makes those the ones most at risk of being lost forever. Games for the Data East Cassette System, or DECO Cassette System as you might otherwise know it, tick these boxes, and a dump of the game Nebula is reason to celebrate. Nebula was chronologically the sixth known title on the platform, and until now a working copy of it had eluded all those trying to look for it to ensure the data was preserved. The game itself is a Galaxian type of game, although if you've been paying attention to the video thus far and already are somewhat familiar with Data East Library, the fantastic, exciting, thrilling text that appears at the start of the title screen may rattle some memories. The game is essentially a reworking of the first Data East Cassette title, Highway Chase, or HWY Chase as it appears on the title screen there. Highway Chase itself is a curious title because that game was also released as a standalone PCB under the name of Mad Alien. Multiple versions of it also existed with that title, although they all still feature vehicles going down a highway rather than aliens. For the curious, I've put footage of each of the versions of Highway Chase, or Mad Alien if you prefer that title, after the Nebula footage on display here. One thing I didn't realise initially with Nebula is that you can move up and down, so for the first few plays here I don't attempt to do that, and then for the later plays you see once I've worked out you can do that, I will be doing it quite a lot because it makes things a lot easier to dodge. Now, the game doesn't really try to do anything special, and considering this would have been released after Highway Chase, it feels like a stripped down version of that game. And of course the space shooter theme is much more traditional, instantly evoking thoughts of Galaxian, so maybe Data East just felt that that would appeal more to players than trying to do the whole Mad Alien Highway Chase thing they were trying with the cars? I don't know. The title here, Nebula, presumably refers to the starfield background, which cycles between a few different colour schemes, but that does sometimes make it more difficult to see the bullets than you would like. Each stage is broken into 2 rounds. There's the traditional destroy the swarm part, and then a short section with diving enemies, and then back to the swarm, back to the diving enemies, and it just keeps going like that, getting more difficult all the time. The scoring gimmick here is that in certain situations your first shot won't immediately down the enemy, but instead will send them spinning off in another direction. They'll explode after a second or two, but if you can get another hit in on them in that time, you'll get some bonus points, which is always handy if you're trying to get the bonus life or something like that. Other than that, what you see is what you get here really. The game will get progressively more difficult, as I mentioned, with enemies firing bullets at angles after a few rounds, but there's nothing groundbreaking, nothing you're not going to have seen elsewhere. So yeah, overall it's a relatively unambitious Galaxian clone that does just about enough with the presentation to stand out, but say not that much. Now, one thing I should mention is that at the time of recording this video I'm not 100% sure who I should be crediting. Arcade and Telespiel on Twitter, aka Arcadeautomaten, did provide a picture of the cassette and the dongle, the protection dongle, but I don't know if they were the original owner of the board or not. I will add that information down in the description when I have it. But I did a bit of work on this myself because the Data East Cassette games are encrypted and the dongle decrypts them, so you have to sort of work out all the different patterns and where everything goes, and basically make sure the tape data gets decrypted as it loads so that the BIOS accepts it. And also one thing that came to light here is that this is the first Region C Data East Cassette game, and the BIOS does region lock, so if the region in the cassette data doesn't match the region in the BIOS, it will just give a cassette error as if the cassette was broken when it isn't. So I've had to handcraft a BIOS version that has the region C string in it, just so that this one would load. Region C is apparently the UK region. We've only got this one Region C game. We've got a couple of Region D games which are apparently Europe, but most of the time when these Data East cassettes turn up they're either Region A, which is Japan, or Region B, which is US. So it's interesting that this is the first of the Region C games we've found. I wonder how many other games were released with the Region C code. So that is that for my commentary on this video. The remainder of this video will just be the footage I've recorded from the game, and then, as I mentioned, a bit of the various versions of Highway Chase after that, so that if you wanted to have a look at that and weren't really sure what it was, you can see them just by fast forwarding the video or watching until I get to that point really. So thank you again for watching, and I hope you enjoy this. And this progress should be in the next version of MAME, which will be 0.251, released at the end of December, I believe.